And we're back.
Once again, it's the Horror Guys with episode 87.
87. I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And as usual, we've got 4 horror films and a short.
And a short. Yep.
And a short.
And they were all pretty good.
I like my shorts.
Yeah. This week, they were all pretty good.
You're not going to comment on my shorts. All right.
Oh, your weird shorts?
Wow. Yeah.
Your scary shorts?
My scary shorts.
Your creepy
yes.
shorts? All kinds of edge.
If you could see my shorts, they're very creepy.
They're horrifying.
Yeah. That's what they say. Last time I showed somebody on the street, they were horrified. So what do we got this week?
We got The Black Castle from 1952.
Ooh, that sounds very Karloff-y.
It sure is. Yeah, it's Karloff. It is Karloffiest.
And The Last American Horror Show from 2018.
Kind of an indie movie.
Kind of a misleading title, because I bet there's going to be more horror shows.
It was not the last one, I guarantee.
Yeah, not really.
And then we got Blood from the Mummy's Tomb, which is 1971. Is that a Hammer? That's a Hammer. It's Hammer time again. Yeah. And following up last week's Omen with the Omen II. Damien grows up.
What, they made a second one?
Damien has teenage angst.
Yeah.
Takes it out on everybody.
And some of these were real good. Some of them were, I think they were all pretty good this week.
They were all at least pretty good.
All.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What should we talk about first?
Well, let's go back in time. We usually start with the oldest one.
The Black Castle, 1952. Before, color had been invented. They just didn't feel like doing this one in color.
There weren't many of them in color, but some, yeah.
It was getting there, yeah.
Directed by Nathan Duran, written by Jerry Sackheim, stars Richard Green, Boris Karloff, Stephen McNally, Hour and 22.
Lon Chaney Jr.'s in it, too.
He is, and he
Not
doesn't even get
billing,
top three,
No.
not even the top 3 billing.
Yeah.
Boris Karloff's number 2. Richard Green is the big star.
So, what was this one about?
Who?
yeah, that's the thing.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Didn't love
right.
it. It was pretty good. Yeah.
It was, I suspect it was one of those, you've got a couple of films left on your contract kind of deals.
yeah.
Let's do this one?
Let's use them.
All right, let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was a dark and stormy night in the old cemetery. How many of them start out like that?
Oh.
We can hear the corpse's thoughts that he's not really dead. All right, that's a little different.
Yeah.
He screams internally, but the 2 men standing next to him cannot hear him. They cover over the not-so-dead man and get ready to bury him. Ooh. We flash back several weeks. Sir Ronald has been invited to go hunting on the estate of Count Karl von Bruno, under the pseudonym of Richard Beckett. He's got a fake name. He's hiding something.
Uh-huh.
He wants to learn the truth about the mysterious deaths of his 2 friends, Sterling and Brown, and he believes von Bruno was behind it. He has no proof. And it's a long trip by coach out into the European mountains, to that vague place where all the Hammer films take place.
Some castle out there.
They stop for a break at the Green Man Inn. Some upper-class snobs come in, and before long, Beckett is dueling with swords and getting the best of them. The troublemakers are Count Steichen and Count Melcher, friends of Count von Bruno. I guess you're either a peasant or a count.
Back in those days, yeah.
How many can you count? 1 count? 2 count? 3 count? You down for the count.
Wow.
Yeah. Next morning, they arrive at the Count's castle.
The Count's castle.
The Count's castle.
Yes.
The Count and his doctor, Dr. Meissen, are torturing, or maybe treating, Count Steichen, the man that Becken cut the night before. And you can tell that the doctor is just... This is going to hurt.
Yeah, with a smile. Yes.
The Count wears an evil eye patch, so you know he's bad.
Yep, no, he's a bad guy. Yep.
They'd gotten an African leopard to be the quarry in the hunt tomorrow. No simple deer or fox for them.
Nope.
The servant, Gargan, shows Beckett to his room. Did Gargan recognize Beckett for some reason? Could Sterling and Brown be locked in the dungeon?
The servant is Lon Chaney Jr., by the way.
Yeah, Dr. Meissen is Karloff, of course.
Yeah.
Beckett wants to know. He meets up with the Countess Bruno, and they all go to look at the leopard. This was back in the days before zoos.
So a leopard was a big deal.
Yeah. Gargan likes to torment the big cat. The two of them explore the dungeon, and the Count has a pit crawling with carnivorous crocodiles.
And you just know at that point somebody's going to end up in that pit full of crocodiles.
Why would you have a pit full of crocodiles if nobody's going to fall into it?
Absolutely. That's how it goes in these movies.
Well, the next day the big hunt begins. Beckett and Von Bruno get paired off and wind up hunting together as partners. They hear the leopard. Beckett falls into a pit with the leopard and is attacked, but the Count manages to shoot it.
Bad kitty.
Bad. Beckett notices the locket that the Countess wears, and it matches the ring he has. There's a sort of budding romance between Beckett and the Countess, but neither of them can act on it. He's under a false name, and she's married.
Complications.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beckett tells her the truth. He tells her everything. And it comes out that Beckett's men cost the Count his eye in a previous battle.
Holding a grudge.
And holding an eye, too.
Yep.
The Countess's locket had to have come from either Sterling or Brown. And they don't see Count Steichen snooping around outside the room. Steichen is about to tell Von Bruno everything, but hey, he dies. Seems likely that Meissen may have poisoned him.
He's a bad doctor.
Whose side is Meissen on?
Or is he a bad doctor?
Or is he? Yeah.
You don't know.
Beckett plans to leave the next morning. Bruno lets him go, knowing that enticing him to stay would leave too many questions to be answered. They leave and head back to the Green Man Inn, where they run into Dr. Meissen, who explains things to him. He begs Beckett to return to the castle and rescue the Countess like he did his first wife.
So he is kind of a good guy. Good. He's a bad good guy.
He's a treacherous bad guy, turning
Yes.
against the bad people.
Or a treacherous good guy.
Yeah.
He's kind of a tweener. He's kind of a gray.
Don't let him operate on you, though.
Yeah.
The innkeeper overhears this and tells it all to the Count, who figures out everything else. The Count locks Beckett in the cell with the Countess, planning to kill them both. Romley, Beckett's servant, lets them out. The only way out is through the crocodile pit. Of course, why wouldn't it be?
Of course, yeah.
They stay close to the wall on the ledge and inch their way over to the other side. The Count is waiting for them on the other side. There's a scuffle, and Gargan becomes croc food before the heroes are recaptured.
I knew that would happen to somebody.
Somebody was going to get it, and
Yeah.
this time it's Lon Chaney.
Mm-hmm. His last appearance in Universal movies. This was the end of his Universal career. Yeah.
So they ate him for real.
Yeah.
May as well.
Not really. He was in movies after. Just not Universal.
He just doesn't remember most of them.
Well, maybe.
Dr. Meissen says he can make them both appear to be dead. They would be sent out as corpses and buried, thereby getting out of the castle. The drug will last about 10 hours. If all goes well, Meissen will come to the mausoleum and release them. They drink the medicine and appear to die. Then Meissen tells the Count the truth of what he's done, and the Count decides to hurry up and bury them alive. Then the Count kills Meissen. If you're going to betray the Count, shut up about it. Don't tell him.
Yeah, definitely don't tell him.
We then return to the opening scene where the two are being sealed into their coffins. The men are nailing the coffin shut and hear a moaning from inside. They open the coffin. Meanwhile, the Count comes in and opens the coffin and is shot by Beckett.
Surprise!
Meissen put his dueling pistols in the coffin before he was killed.
Ha-ha.
Beckett and Elga, the former Countess, ride off in his carriage.
Happy ending, sort of.
Buried with his pistols. Well, this takes place in a vague country run by an emperor and has a bunch of subjects that speak with real American accents.
It's one of those.
And then there's Karloff, who speaks in an actual British accent.
And why is that? That must have been like the American idea of what Europe was. Like it's all made up of little countries that are headed by emperors. There's so many of these movies.
Well, all of these take place in the vague 1800s. And
Yeah.
there were countries with emperors then.
And it's always some vague unnamed country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to blame, Germany or anything.
Yeah.
On the French countryside, where the werewolves live. Karloff and Chaney both have pitifully small roles here, and neither is really the main villain of the film. Both were a little past their prime by this point in their careers, and Universal wasn't doing them any favors with these roles. Actually, this was Chaney's last film with Universal.
Mm-hmm.
There's not really a lot of horror here. It's an old dark castle with a requisite dungeon and giant hunchback servant. There's a room full of alligators. Other than that, it's basically just a thriller where Beckett must solve the mystery before the Count finds out his identity. It drags a lot toward the end, but the first half was pretty entertaining.
Second half was too. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Overall, I liked it.
Somewhat predictable. Unlike Blood from the Mummy's Tomb in 1971, directed by Seth Holt and Michael Carreras, written by Christopher Wicking, stars Andrew Keir, Valerie Leon, and James Villiers. Hour and 34 minutes. What you think?
I liked it.
All right.
It was in my, not my favorite of the Mummy movies, but it was up there. Yeah, liked it a lot.
Yeah, this is
It was kind of different.
kind of structured like a quest. Each one of them had their little MacGuffins.
Yeah.
You kind of go and get them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it'd be a good video game movie where you play the mummy.
Yeah, it would have been.
Now, go kill this guy in this place. And there's lots of jumping over pits and stuff. That'd be a cool game.
Yeah, it would.
You don't get to play the monster often enough. All right. Well, a woman dreams about mist-covered mountains. Inside the mountain is an Egyptian tomb. On the altar in the tomb, a bunch of men kill a girl and carry her hand outside to feed it to the jackals. Never did explain that. The men go back inside and seal the girl up in a sarcophagus, while the hand kills the jackals and crawls away on its own.
That's a magic hand.
It is. The men all leave the tomb and walk into a windstorm that somehow cuts all their throats. The only thing left moving is the hand, and the woman wakes up screaming.
The hand gives them the finger as it kills them.
Yeah, not really.
No, not really. Yeah.
If it were done today.
Yeah.
Well, it's Margaret's birthday, and her father gives her a huge red ring and tells her she must always wear it. And this is a big, gaudy ring. You punch somebody with this thing, they're going down.
Yeah.
The man who lives across the street watches her with binoculars and makes notes in a book. Nothing creepy there. She goes to the museum to show the curator her ring, and as soon as he sees it, he collapses in some sort of fright attack. We cut to the asylum. There's an old man in a straitjacket who sees a glowing version of the Big Dipper. 7 stars of the Big Dipper, by the way. The man from across the street goes to visit the man in the asylum. And this whole movie is based on the book,
Which is a recurring theme throughout.
Yeah, the mummy has something to do with it's the Big Dipper, the 7 stars in question.
Mm-hmm.
But the old man sees 7 stars, the Big Dipper, and this is some sort of an omen for the badness that is going to happen. But they don't actually explain the 7 stars very much in the movie.
Not really.
The book,
They mention
that's
it.
the name of the book that this was based on, and they do show the 7 stars Big Dipper every once in a while, but it's never explained what the relevance is. Why? What are the stars for?
We're just supposed to imply that it's, the omen.
The Big Dipper is not generally known for evil.
Not generally.
Oh, look out, it's the full moon. Oh, worse than that, there's the Big Dipper.
Ah.
Of course, it's up 9 months of the year. Oh, well.
Oh, well.
A fortune teller is reading her crystal ball, and she sees the 7 stars. Ah, here we go. The book is based on Bram Stoker's novel, The Jewel of 7 Stars. And so that's where that comes from, but the stars really don't play any part in the movie beyond this point. So it's the Jewel of the 7 Stars.
Righto.
Which might be her ring also.
Mm-hmm.
The curator calls the man with the binoculars and tells him that Margaret Fox is she who must not be named. Oh, okay, that's who that is. Nobody ever tells us who it is, but now we know.
But she shall not be named.
Yeah, and then in a few hours' time, it will be her birthday. We flash back to The Expedition, where scientists open up the mummy's tomb. It's where we saw them put the girl in the sarcophagus. Margaret's father, whose name is Fuchs, the binocular man, the psychic lady...
Careful how you pronounce that.
Yeah, the father, the binocular man, the psychic lady, the asylum man, and the curator are all there. They open the tomb and see the dead girl inside, perfectly preserved, but with no hand.
Same actress playing both roles.
Yes.
Yes.
The arm bleeds where the hand was cut off thousands of years ago. Still gushing the blood.
Still juicy.
Yeah, how does that work? Don't know. Magic.
Magic.
Margaret has a nightmare. She and her boyfriend Todd rush home to find Fuchs collapsed on the sarcophagus he has hidden in the basement. Margaret wanders around the room, seemingly recognizing the things here, even though she's never been in the room before.
And on a note here, too, mentioning the boyfriend made me think of it. This is a 1971 movie, and if you want something that is supremely 70s in the fashion and the decor, and, yeah. Fashion, decor, hairstyles. 70s.
You're saying he looks very 70s?
Oh, yeah, his wardrobe, yeah.
Disco
and,
called,
yeah.
they want your clothes back?
Hers too, but all of them, yeah. Very, very 70s. But well, it was set in 1971. Or,
they wanted to be fashionable when the movie was made.
Yeah. So it's like a time capsule of what the 70s looked like.
That night, she goes down there again in a trance and runs into the binocular man, whose name is Corbeck. Corbeck explains that Fuchs had been obsessed with the Queen of Darkness. He explains that Margaret was born at the exact moment that Fuchs unearthed Tara, the girl in the sarcophagus. Her power is astral, not physical. Corbeck thinks Margaret is carrying Tara's soul.
One soul, two bodies.
They need to find all the original members of the archaeological party that found her, which includes Dandridge the curator and Berrigan the patient in the asylum. That night, a tiny snake statue grows large and bites Berrigan, killing him in his locked asylum cell.
Yes.
A locked room mystery.
Yeah, she who will not be named had totems that were buried with her in the tomb that can come to life.
Magic gizmos that each one of them took one.
Yeah. And
which souvenir would you like?
Yeah, and they all can come to life and
then they do.
Killing devices. Yeah.
Margaret/Tara confronts Dandridge. She wants her artifacts returned. He runs out through the fire escape and Todd follows him. Dandridge winds up like the others with his throat torn open. Todd runs home and tells Margaret to stop what she's been doing before she gets killed as well. He plans to stop her, but Margaret says, "Don't, or you're dead." Almost instantly, way too fast, really, Todd dies in a car crash immediately after. I mean, like seconds later, we see him in a car and it crashes. Why was he in the car? We don't know.
No, this is the one where they went to the door and she had that boy toy manservant. Was that the... Am I mixing up my movies?
Boy toy manservant?
Yeah, the guy with the fingernails and the makeup. Yeah,
I don't remember.
No, the cat statue comes to life and he skedaddles out of there.
Yeah?
No, this is the one I'm thinking of.
All right.
He had this, they go knock knock, at her house, and this guy answers the door, who's got the most gorgeous fingernails, manicured, and he's kind of made up, and he's kind of trans, but kind of masculine too, and it's never explained.
That one brief scene. I thought she just had some very weird friends.
Well, it's very brief, but no,
he wasn't magical or anything. He was just some guy.
Yeah, but
Okay, yeah, this is the one.
Okay, but it was just a strange cameo for a short little role.
Yeah.
No, he was her boy toy or lover or something, or servant / boy toy, but he was so strange looking. So.
Yeah, he's okay. Yeah, I totally will say he's a memorable character, but for somebody who's got like almost no lines and really isn't a character.
Yeah, he made the most of it. Yeah,
that's a cameo.
But then when the cat comes to life, he just hightails out of there.
Most people would.
He runs for it and leaves her. So he's not that protective of her.
Yeah. Okay, so Todd dies in a car crash. Fuchs and Corbeck have an interminably long dialogue about the inevitability of Margaret becoming Tara. I swear this discussion goes on for 3 hours. Or it seemed like it anyway. Margaret kills Dr. Putnam and runs to the psychic lady we saw earlier, who has this weird friend that Kevin's talking about.
Yes.
The woman hurries to give back the cat statue that Tara wants, but the cat kills her anyway. We see that Fuchs has the still-moving hand in a box. Corbeck takes the hand and places it on Tara's lifeless body, where it reattaches. Margaret says Tara is ready for her resurrection. Uh-oh. Fuchs says, "No, don't do it!" But she and Corbeck are determined. Fuchs finally convinces Margaret, and the two of them kill Corbeck. It's too late, however, since Tara sits up. They wrestle over the dagger, and Tara is killed again. Maybe.
Maybe. Kind of leaves it open-ended.
Yeah. Well, this gets my vote for the slowest, talkiest, most boring Hammer film. There's just an incredible amount of talking with almost no action. There's no mummy, not really. Just a healthy-looking girl laying in a sarcophagus who makes people die from beyond the grave. And there's something to do with the stars of the Big Dipper that are never explained. The people who die are killed by her artifacts that want to be reunited with their owner. So if you're expecting to see big shambling monsters or at least someone wrapped in bandages, there's none of that here.
Not in this one.
Just don't.
Does have a body count of 15 though, so there's plenty of deaths in it.
Okay. Speaking of deaths, did you see a short film this week?
Yeah. Why haven't they fixed the cameras yet?
Yeah, a very short one, about 5 minutes. Came out this year, 2020. Why haven't they fixed the cameras yet? There's a link in the show notes where you can go watch it. It's free on YouTube. Written and directed by Travis White, starring Lee Eddy and Lucas King. Runtime 4 minutes, 40 seconds. Did you like it?
I did. I liked it a lot.
I liked it a lot, yeah.
Yeah, this was a good one.
When they're that short, it's hard to make them interesting.
And they did
and
in
have
this one.
Actually kind of a whole story there, too.
Mm-hmm, yeah, they did.
Well, a woman runs to her car in fear in the parking garage. She thinks to herself, "Why haven't they fixed the cameras in this place yet? Everyone knows how unsafe these places are." The parking garage is dark, deserted, and neglected. There's one car. How many missing children and assaulted women are required before operating cameras are mandatory? Well, she seems angry at the lack of care by the building maintenance staff. She also doesn't like Devin from The Office. He's a drunken misogynist and she hates him. She watches him come out of the elevator. Wait. Things aren't quite what they seem at first. Well, I thought it started off a bit preachy, almost as if this was some kind of public service video. How many women and children must disappear before something is done? But then it escalates into a proper horror short, and I definitely liked it.
Yep, definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, 4 minutes of your time, link in the show notes. All right. And then...
we saw an anthology.
The Last American Horror Show from 2018. And it's true, there have not been any horror shows since.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm. This was the last one. Oh, well, all they've been in foreign films. This was the last American one.
Actually, if you follow their publicity, there's a Last American Horror Show 2 coming up.
No.
Yeah, there really is. Directed by Michael S. Rodriguez, written by him as well. Stars Felissa Rose, Lynn Lowry, Arch Hall Jr., hour and 22 minutes.
Did you like it?
Mostly.
I mostly liked it too. I didn't care for all the stories.
Well, that's the way these things always work. When you got an anthology, there's always one or two good ones and at least one stinker. Seems like it anyway.
Two of them were much stronger than one of them.
All right.
There's 3 stories.
Well, and a wraparound.
And the wraparound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of unusual. Most of the anthologies do have more than 3. Mm-hmm. 3 fairly long stories here.
Yeah.
So not super short.
Hour and 22 minutes total.
All right. Well, this is an anthology collection of 3 stories and a wraparound. Angelina is waiting for her date, Brian, to come over. She says she needs some normalcy in her life. Her sister, Mandy, is off screen, and she says she could scare Brian if needed. They decide on a safe word, blueberry pie. She wants to watch horror films, but he's a Christian and can't do that. I don't think that's a requirement.
Well, no, but I think he's like super ultra uptight Christian. To the point of, won't watch horror movies. I think most Christians are okay with horror movies, but yeah.
Oh, I'm sure that there are some that aren't.
Yeah,
he's one of the ones that aren't.
But anyway, yeah, the implication is he's a super uptight Christian.
He agrees to watch her horror film if she'll give him a simple kiss on the cheek afterwards. Fair trade. She puts in the first film, called
Home Wrecked.
Well, a drug addict promises his drug dealer that he'll gladly pay him Monday. Like Wimpy and the Hamburgers.
Gladly pay you Tuesday for a hamburger today. Gladly pay you Monday for a high today.
Yeah. The dealer says he'll carve out the guy's eyes if he doesn't get paid. Well, the addict and his friends stake out a house for a home invasion. But the couple inside is having a dinner party with her father. And she's announcing her pregnancy. What's more boring than listening to an old man telling old war stories at a party? Listening to an old guy telling the same stories in a movie about a party. The addict's girl gets into the house and lets the others in. They torture the homeowners, and the husband kills one guy in the garage, and then he comes inside.
Dun, dun, dun.
And not too long after that, she puts in the other tape, and it's Night of the Sea Monkey.
And Home Wrecked was the one that I liked the least of the three.
I think so, too.
Actually, they go in progressive order of how much I liked them.
I think they do, yes.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think this first one...
And the first one wasn't awful, but...
There wasn't much to it.
There just wasn't much to it, and yeah.
There was a people having some party, they sit around, they talk, there's some really kind of boring dialogue. And there's a home invasion, and a bunch of people die.
Yeah, it wasn't horror so much.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Oh, there's blood and gore.
Well, yeah, blood and gore, but it could have been just a crime thriller.
Yeah. Did not care for the first one too much.
Well, not as far as horror. Yeah.
Night of the Sea Monkey. Well, a family gets together for breakfast. The little boy wants to raise some sea monkeys. They're only $1.25, so Dad says he has to wash the car for the next 2 Saturdays and hands him $2.50.
What did he?
I want this kid to come over to my house. I'll give him $2.50.
Yeah.
6 weeks later, the sea monkeys arrive. He fills a bowl with water, drops in the eggs, and he waits. 2 weeks later, nothing has happened.
And let me just jump in here and say...
Speaking of horror stories...
Speaking of sea monkeys, I have tried sea monkeys multiple times in my life. 3 times. And every time, I do it right, I follow the instructions, I wait, and nothing happens. I think they're a hoax. Anyw's
I have a good authority. Sea monkeys are real things.
Okay. I don't know what I'm doing wrong, but there's been 3 attempts over the years. Where's my sea monkeys?
You don't hold a grudge, do you?
All I see is water. Anyway, going on.
I think that's a way better story than what we saw. Okay, 2 weeks later, nothing has happened. Mom dumps them down the drain. That evening, Dad gives the kid some advice about pets, and he tells a story about Timmy, a bull terrier he had when he was little. His mother wouldn't let him keep the dog, so he killed it.
Yeah, it's quite of a horrifying story he tells the kid.
And completely unnecessary. But yeah, that was just out of there.
Yeah.
I used to have a dog. I killed it.
Yeah. In the story, not a normal way that he did it either. So.
Grandma comes to visit, and she talks entirely too much, and all of it's inappropriate.
And a side note too, the actress who played Grandma, we were thinking, oh God, she doesn't look like Grandma age. She's young. She's like putting us on with a little makeup, and
we thought she was wearing some really poor old age makeup, and she was probably in her 30s.
She's really like what was 70s?
I don't remember. Yeah. She was like 70s. Yeah, she really was that old.
She really looks good for her age, though.
Yeah, she wasn't wearing old age of that dude. Yeah, huh?
Yeah.
Surprisingly good 70-year-old.
Yeah.
So, as Mom begins to do the dishes, something in the water bites her and grabs her. Grandma has a talk with Grandpa, who isn't really there. Uh-oh. It gets the brother and the sister. They tell Dad, who doesn't believe any of it. Then it eats Dad. Who knew sea monkeys could be so much fun?
I wouldn't know.
You do better with cats than you do with sea monkeys.
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And the last one is Lamb Feed.
Which was by far the best.
Yeah, it definitely was the best of the 3.
Yes.
A guy drives down a deserted road and gets a flat tire. Someone put down tire spikes. He doesn't seem to know how to change a tire, so he starts walking. Didn't even look in the trunk. He walks to a nearby house, but no one is home. The man finally comes across a tall, bald, biker-looking guy named Wicker. The two go inside a club, and he's not impressed by the country folk inside. We get flashes of a strange vision for some reason. Another man tells a story about how he once killed his own dog. Really? It's not the same guy even.
Huh.
Another man
Coincidence.
talks about eating people's gallbladders. And the guy from the beginning gets drugged almost immediately, and he starts having visions himself. He soon finds himself held down on a table until the butcher is released from the back room. The woman who rented him the car is there, and she's not happy. A cop comes in, gun drawn, but he's only kidding. He's in on the cannibalism thing too.
Uh-oh.
Let the dismemberment begin.
Uh-oh.
And then finally, back in the wraparound story, Brian and Angelina are done with the movies, and Brian wants his kiss. He gets carried away, and she says the safe word to signal that she's had enough. Mandy, who turns out to be her cannibalistic connected Siamese twin, kills and eats Brian.
Yum, yum.
Yeah. Well, the incidental music is just a little too loud during some of the quiet parts, and I couldn't make out a lot was said in some of the flashback stories and the quiet stories, such as the one about the bull terrier in the Vietnam flashback. It's a little hard to make out the words for the music. The sound and lighting are both pretty good otherwise, and these can quickly kill a low-budget film. And I do wonder if the writers had a thing for both killing their dogs and weird old Vietnam vets.
Because that's a recurring theme.
Got two old Vietnam vets telling these weird old stories, and two completely different stories about people killing their pet dogs.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Homewrecked had no twist or horror element to it. It was a home invasion gone bad. Night of the Sea Monkeys was supposed to be funny, but I did think it tried a little too hard. Although it was a lot more effective than Homewrecked.
It was pretty effective. I liked it.
Okay.
Yeah. They were going over the top on purpose, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Lamb Feed had a lot of gore, but not much story. But I'd have to say Lamb Feed was the best of the three.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
I wasn't especially blown away by any of the stories here, but Kevin did remind me that we have seen far worse.
Well, yeah.
None of the stories are really bad. None of them are bad. And it's better produced than most. It's not really low quality. If you're looking for a low-budget indie horror that doesn't suck too badly, check this one out.
It's no Godfather, but I'd give it a solid 7.
It's not even Godfather 3.
Yeah. I'd say 7 out of 10.
If you like the indie films, this is a good one.
And anthologies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not going to compete with Blood from the Mummy's Tomb, but it's yeah, it's good.
Probably didn't have the budget that they did.
You know,
Blood
adjusting
from the
for
Mummy's Tomb?
Inflation, whatever they, yeah, probably not.
Yeah, Blood from the Mummy's Tomb. I bet that was expensive. They had a lot, big cast, a lot of special effects, a lot of
But it was Hammer.
big sets. Well, yeah, they can afford it. Yeah, that's what I meant.
You make it sound like Hammer was high budget. And not at this point they were.
Relatively. Yeah.
All right. Well, at least it's not the end of the world.
No, not yet.
Not yet, but we're getting close.
But Damien is working at it.
Yep. Last week we talked about The Omen, and this week we've got Damien Omen II from 78.
He's a teen now.
Yeah. Directed by Don Taylor and Mike Hodges. Written by Harvey Bernard and David Seltzer. Stars William Holden, Lee Grant, Jonathan Scott Taylor. Hour and 47 minutes. And there's a link in the show notes where you can pick up your copy. You like it?
I did. Liked it a lot.
How does it compare to the first one? Better? Worse? About the same?
Ooh, about the same, I'd say, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah, really liked. Yeah.
I remembered this being this. I remember this as the best of the three. But as we have rewatched them, I don't think it's as good as the first one.
Not quite, but yeah. Okay, if I have
but
to.
But better than the third one.
If I have to rate them, I would say the first one's my favorite. This would be my third. Well, okay. Are we counting all 4 of them?
No, just the first.
Okay, let's pretend the 4th one didn't happen.
I think that's safest. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a whole different world.
My order of preference is to put this one last. Then.
Okay, yeah. I'm going to say 1, 2, 3. The first, second, and third is the worst.
Yeah, 1, 3, 2.
Okay.
Yeah, but they were all good. This was good.
Oh yeah, they're all very good. They're all worth watching.
Yes.
Absolutely, number 1 is a must see. 2 and 3 are good.
Good. Yeah.
We start with the archaeologist, Bugenhagen.
Yay, Bugenhagen.
Bugenhagen.
We get to say Bugenhagen again.
Small role, great name. Bugenhagen. From the first film, racing his car through the streets as the credits roll. He's got the newspaper that tells about Ambassador Thorne's funeral and about young Damien, who survived. He has no doubt that Damien Thorne is the Antichrist. Bugenhagen gives his friend Michael a box to deliver to Damien's new guardian, Robert Thorne, the former ambassador's brother. Michael and Bugenhagen drive out to an archaeological dig, and an evil blackbird watches them enter the tunnels.
And then it's a final destination moment.
They walk through the underground ruins and stop in front of a statue of the Whore of Babylon. There's also a mural that just happens to have Damien's face on it. On the mural are faces, one of which is clearly Damien's.
Yeah, prophecy was, some prophet painted him years and years ago.
Here's what he's going to look like.
Here's what he's going to look like, and sure enough, that's the kid. Yeah.
There's a cave-in, and the two men are slowly buried alive. The whole temple falls in on top of them, and that is one secret that's going to stay secret for many years.
For a little while.
7 years later, in Chicago, Damien is now a teenager. Richard and Ann Thorne have been caring for him, and Damien and his cousin Mark are going off to military school. Old Aunt Marion doesn't much like Damien. Marion insists that Richard take the boys out of the academy or else she'll dispose of her 27% of Thorne Industries.
Uh-oh.
Which otherwise would go to Richard.
Can't have that.
Neither of the boys are Ann's. Aunt Marion wants Mark away from Damien. Why did Richard's brother try to kill Damien? There's something wrong with that boy.
Yeah, she gets a bad vibe. She doesn't know he's the Antichrist, but she knows thinks something's up.
Yeah. And she could be right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Later that evening, Charles shows us in a slideshow that a bunch of relics, including a statue of the Whore of Babylon, will be coming to town soon. Marion wakes up and finds a big black bird in her room. It stares at her and gives her a heart attack. Bark, bark! Worst bird ever. We shift over to see Damien and Mark at military school. Sergeant Neff is the new platoon leader over Damien's unit. Back in Chicago, Richard talks to Bill Atherton, the president of the Thorne Company. Bill doesn't like the new modern ideas that Paul Boer is proposing. Paul wants to cut a bunch of dead wood from the company. Paul also wants to farm the ocean and create new genetically modified foods. His policy can end world hunger.
For a price.
Bill thinks it's inhuman and illegal.
To charge people for food. I mean, I sort of get his point. He's kind of got the idea to corner the market on food and charge everybody for food. But that's kind of how business works.
Yeah.
Big food companies, they make food and they do expect people to pay for it.
If you end world hunger, you probably expect to get a little something back for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess that Bill's concern is that it would be over the top, that it would be, enslaving humankind to this company more or less. Once they dominate the world and all food comes from this company, basically.
Yeah. What's your point?
Yeah. Well,
that is the point.
Well,
but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so a bully goes after Damien at school, and Damien hurts him with just a look. Richard denies Paul's proposal, but says that your time will come. A reporter named Joan Hart comes to interview Richard. She's interested in a biography of Bugenhagen. They found his skeleton at the dig. She wants to warn him about prophecy, but he throws her out of the car. Joan then goes to see Anne, but doesn't get very far with her either. Joan goes to see Damien, but runs away after laying eyes on him.
Because she's seen the mural.
Her car breaks down, and she runs into the raven on the road. It attacks her eyes, and unseeing, she walks into the road in the path of a truck. Everyone returns home from Mark's birthday party. Bill and Paul discuss their plans for the company and the lack of ethics behind Paul's ideas. Paul talks to Damien and tells him he should start to show some interest in the company, since it will all be his someday. Paul explains that he wants to guide Damien into his adult life and leadership in the business world. The next morning, everyone goes skating at the lake, and Paul and the Raven quietly watch as the ice breaks and Bill is killed. Paul is immediately promoted to company president. I guess his time did come.
Guess we go ahead with your plan, yeah. So, and there's, some hints at this point that Paul is
in on
it, that he knows who Damien is.
Yeah. It was clear that both Sergeant Neff and Paul Boer know about who Damien is, and they're here to help him.
Oh, your notes say that. Okay, yes, clearly. Yeah.
Neff tells Damien the parts of the Bible that he needs to read. He's got, highlighted it.
Mm-hmm.
Damien reads the book of Revelation and finds the 666 birthmark on his head. He's not pleased, but at least he knows who he is now. Mr. Passarian, one of the company's engineers, has uncovered murders related to Paul's order to buy all that land in India. We can see that Paul ordered the murders, but Passarian doesn't suspect a thing. Paul starts talking about the huge profits to be had in famine.
Because we'll step in and feed these poor hungry people.
Yeah.
For a profit.
I think they were going somewhere with the four horsemen there. Paul was going to be famine.
He was going to be famine.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And, Damien invites the whole class to a field trip at his family's factory. Passarian has to fix the P-84 device, which has been acting up. We don't know what that is yet.
But we do. We will.
Yeah, the P-84 valve explodes and won't shut off, gassing Passarian to death.
It's an imprecise thing, though. A lot of other workers get it, too.
Yeah, very much.
Yeah.
The doctor checks out all the students, and they're all going to survive with minor injuries. Damien, however, had no effects at all, and he should have. The doctor wants to run some routine tests to see why. Damien's blood test shows that he has the blood of a jackal.
That ain't right.
That ain't right. The doctor almost immediately has a fatal encounter with an elevator. The doctor had enough time to tell Richard that Damien has an unusual cell structure, so Richard starts to wonder about things.
Mm-hmm.
Charles at the museum finally unpacks the relics that have been sent to him from the dig. He also opens the box that Bugenhagen had planned to send to Richard, and it contains daggers and notes. He rushes over to the house, and Damien answers the door. Oops.
Yeah, and he's a little freaked out by Damien now.
Yeah. Charles tells Richard everything and mentions that the wall with the mural will be coming to town tomorrow, but Damien overhears the entire conversation. That night, Mark reads Damien's Bible, which apparently has all the juicy bits highlighted. Charles reads Bugenhagen's letter. Anne hears the story, and she doesn't want to have anything to do with it, and forbids Richard from speaking of it again. Mark and Damien argue, and Damien fully accepts what he is. Damien then kills Mark with his mind, and Richard is convinced. Richard goes to see a priest who is sheltering Charles. Charles has seen the wall mural, and he says it's Damien. Richard wants to see it, so they go to the train depot for a look. Richard goes inside the train car and sees Damien painted on the mural, while Charles goes for a short train ride. The wall is destroyed in the resulting accident. Richard says, "That boy has got to die," and Anne begs him not to do it. Anne then stabs Richard with the daggers, because then we reveal that she's in on it too.
She's the whore of Babylon.
The boiler explodes, killing her and destroying everything in the room. Damien walks out of the museum, now with no one to stop him. You'd think they could have at least let her out before they exploded the museum.
No, you didn't catch that? That was in the prophecy, too. She was the whore of Babylon.
Yeah.
He'll use her and then burn her.
Oh, all right.
That was
I
mentioned.
didn't catch that.
Yeah, that was mentioned. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Which he did. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm still not sure what Bill found unethical and immoral about Paul's plan to make genetically modified seas and farming the ocean.
Because he was going to overdo it. He was
I-
going to corner the market on food.
There were murders to make people sell their land, so we
Yeah.
know there's that.
Well, there
but
was
I don't
that,
think
too.
Bill knew about that.
No, but just
Kill people.
It was a plan to basically corner the market on food.
Yeah.
Everybody
okay.
would have to get their food from this company, eventually. Yeah.
Well, there's mention of the company buying the land. I still don't see where that's illegal or immoral at all, much less satanic.
Right, it just overdone.
Yeah.
An evil plan to dominate the world.
And where did Bugenhagen get 7 more daggers to put in Michael's box?
They're the same 7 daggers.
They couldn't have been the same daggers, as this film started only a day or two after the first film ended, and those daggers would have certainly been in a police evidence box.
Oh, yeah.
They shot the ambassador, and he died, and he had the 7 daggers right there. They would have taken it all into evidence. And Bugenhagen was reading about the funeral in the newspaper in the first scene. First of all, they'd have kept him in evidence, and if they hadn't kept him in evidence, he's like in, out in the desert somewhere. It would have taken weeks for these to get to him.
Huh. Good point.
Yeah, these are different. They have to be different daggers.
They were the same. They were because
it's implied they're the same.
They were, because they were the 7 magic daggers. Yeah.
I guess when you kill the owner, they automatically teleport back to Bugenhagen's box.
Yeah,
that's the story. We're going to stick with that.
Yep.
I want the Bugenhagen box. Mm-hmm. I just want to say Bugenhagen box a couple more times.
Right.
The Bugenhagen box. All right. Well, this feels very much like the middle part of a trilogy. The story progressed, and there are many creative deaths, but it definitely doesn't have the same creepy factor that the original had. Again, many people had a lot of bad luck. There's nothing that absolutely proves anything supernatural was going on. You don't see the devil. You don't see lasers shooting out of Damien's eyes. It could still all just be coincidence.
Yeah, heck of a coincidence.
It could be argued away.
Okay, yeah.
Well, then the third one comes along and we don't get that.
And it's no longer a coincidence.
Yeah, it's not a coincidence.
Yeah.
Well, that is our show. Thanks for joining us. Stop in at horrorguys.com to read all the reviews and see what's coming up and everything else. Are we going to have movies next week?
Yeah, I think we are. We're going to have, what are we going to have? We're going to have Mad Love, a classic from 1935, Demons of the Mind from 1972, Hush from 2016, and The Omen III, The Final Conflict from 1981.
Spoiler, it's not The Final Conflict.
Well, we'll pretend it is.
Yeah, okay.
Because we saw the 4th Omen movie.
Yeah.
And they shouldn't have.
Oh, you shouldn't have. Really, you shouldn't have.
But that's for another time.
Yeah, okay. Well, I'm Brian.
And I'm Kevin.
And we'll see you next week.
See ya.